And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at Robo Race. This is a game in which you have robots that are running around a racetrack and you're using card play to move them around. The racetrack is actually inside the box, which is whatever. It's not actually that unique. It doesn't matter that it's inside the box. This literally could have been a little board that you put next to the box. I guess it's kind of cool. It takes up half the box though. Whatever. It's just kind of an odd decision to make. I guess that this way there's a stadium. You can see the people watching on the outside. It's kind of a cool design feature. It just does make you realize that you are literally only using half this box. But anyway, this game is not about the racetrack as much as about laying down cards, laying down tiles of robots, trying to match other ones, and using special abilities. Let's look. The goal of this game, it's a racing game, so you're trying to get around the track a certain number of laps, and every time you pass the thing here, the start line, you'll move this token down, and the first person to get across and the number of laps you decide to run, it's usually a 4-lap game, but you can shorten it if you want to, or if this deck of cards runs out, whoever is farthest ahead is the winner. You have 6 special tokens that you can use over the course of the game. If you use a token, each token that you don't use is going to be an extra point, an extra space at the end. Players are going to have a handful of these robot cards, and on your turn, you're going to place a robot card down on this existing grid. It starts with 4 cards, but it's going to change as time goes by. Now, you have to cover up at least 1 robot. You can cover up to 4 robots. The number of robots you cover up is how far you move. So if I place it like this, I cover up 1 robot, I would move 1 space. If you cover up more than 1 robot, it can't all be on the same card. This is not legitimate because both of these are on the same card. But this would be fine. See the red on the red, yellow on the yellow? That is fine. So if you cover up 1 robot, you'll move 1. If you cover up 2, you'll move 2. If you cover up 3 robots, you'll move 4. And if you cover up 4 robots, like this card here, placing here, you will go 7. Now, you're going to have a heart, and then you draw a card, and it's the next person's turn. Now, you have to be careful as you place these cards because you're going to want to, time's going to go by, and you're going to want to cover things up. Sometimes you're going to want to cover something up, and it's not going to match correctly. Then you can use one of your tokens. You can use one of these tokens to rotate the top card of something. You can use this token to place something down. It covers up all 4, but one of them won't match, so that one you can switch to whatever you want as you place this down. You can switch to, I could say this red and yellow swap places for purposes of laying a new one down. I can move a tile somewhere else on here. And one of these lets me unflip one of the action tokens I've already used so I can use it again. And once you do that, you're going to move a certain number of spaces. You're going to go 1, 2, 4, or 7. And every time you go somewhere, you might land on one of these tokens. When you land on a token, you'll flip that token over, and you'll get to use that token. Sometimes they're one-time use. This one here gives me an extra card in my hand for the rest of the game. This one here is a one-time use thing where I can get rid of a tile. And once you take one, a new token is put in the spot that you came from. So when you move, there's always going to be 4 of these tokens on the board. So landing on a token can give you special abilities that you can use for the remainder of the game. And you can only ever have 2 of these tokens in front of you. So once you use one, it might go away. If you get more than 2, you have to discard down to 2. That's it. Slowly, this is going to be built as a grid. There's going to be all sorts of robot combinations, and it's going to get bigger and bigger as time goes by. And eventually, you will run out of the deck, or someone will do a required number of laps, and then the game ends. Now, the basic concept of this game is fine. Laying these down to match things on a table is an interesting idea. It's not a unique one. There are many games that do such things, but it's fine. The idea of placing cards down to move people around the racetrack is interesting. But we do run into a few problems. The first is with the theme. All right, placing these down is cool. Nice pictures of robots, great artwork in the game. These little dudes are meeples, maybe, but they, really, there's nothing about this game that says anything about robots. They could have been about monsters, about aliens. Really, any theme. the idea of, building a robot and running around a track, well, you just don't feel that at all. Secondly, there is an entirely kind of a juxtaposition of the fact that, a weird one, that you're laying these tiles down. So there's going to be a lot of analysis paralysis as you look, and as time goes by and the grid gets bigger, you're going to look at the cards in your hand and say, okay, I can put what cards where. There's so many spots. You're looking for the right spot, and that can take a while. But that is mixed with the fact that it's sheer luck. You're going to be like, whoa, that one fits perfectly there. And other times you're like, oh, I can only cover up one, not even two. And that's, considering that covering up one lets you move one, and covering up all four lets you move seven, that's problematic. Now, you'll notice that that first tile that we flipped over was get an extra card in your hand, which is a huge deal, right? So let's say in your first turn you go 7. You go there, which is a special ability. You get that special ability, and now not only are you 7 ahead of somebody else, but you also have that special ability. And every game of this I played, someone has invariably gotten lapped. Not because of they're a bad player, but because they simply did not draw as good cards as other people. You say, but wait, Tom, you have those tokens you can flip over. You're right, you do have those tokens, and those tokens are super helpful. But every time you flip over a token, you essentially lose a point, and everyone has them. So it doesn't give me any kind of catch-up mechanism. I'm going I'll flip this token, and now I also went 7. Great, I'll do the same thing. Those tokens that you land on are also wildly, some of them you can slide a tile one spot, whoopee-doo, compared to get an extra card in hand, or there's one tile that lets you steal a tile from somebody else. So you just let's wait till someone else gets something good. That looks good, I'll take it. And they're like, well, I went to all that work to get this tile. Too bad. So while I like the concept of the game of playing cards to race your guy around a track, that's good. And the gameplay itself is okay. It's just that matching 4, letting you move 7, is wildly imbalanced. It makes the luck of the draw extremely important. Or sometimes you'll draw a card and you're like, oh, well, there's no way I can play this card. There's nothing you can really do to mitigate that. Having the other special tiles you can flip over to give you actions is a cool idea. And it's useful, and you'll find that some people, sometimes they'll come in. I like the idea of saying, I'll flip these two and place this. But having those tiles also increases the amount of actions you can take on a turn. The game drags down for what should be a fast and fun game, and especially if you play with a lot of players. With the full complement of 6 players, the game is interminably long. It should have been capped at 4 easy. You won't finish the 4 laps. You'll run out the deck just because there's that many people. The game does not scale well. So again, like the concept of this game, but it has too many problems for me to recommend it. Odd theming, way too lucky, and just a lot of downtime for a racing game. Can't really recommend it. Dice Tower Judgment, I wish it was better.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Schließ die Tür!